Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Woohoo! Down to our second.
We did it!
Well, probably going to be our last spooky one. I'd love to fit in one next week, but you know, Halloween's on Tuesday, so probably not going to happen, but we did it.
We did it.
We
really proud.
Did it. Real proud of us. Real proud. Pardon my nose and throat. I have a little bit of a cold, so might be hacking away. Just going to add to the spooky allure.
Your Jonathan
My
still
choice-
has a cold.
I know. My choice this, our final spooky film of 2023. And I chose The Bride of Boogedy. Now, kind of a misnomer, really a small part of this, I'd say.
Well, it's his whole
But
point.
they were doing like...
Well, that's the whole point
a
for him
bride.
coming back, though.
Yeah, true. But kind of a take on the Bride of Frankenstein, like kind of a thing they were trying to do. So, as we all know, I hope you know, the Mr. Boogedy was a 1986 TV movie played on the Magical World of Disney that we covered, I think, in our first season.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. Big movie in our house. We loved it. Our dad loved it. Just had really like fun memories of it. And it is like a really fun movie. So they have it on if you have Disney Plus, there's like a whole Halloween collection, and both that movie and this movie are on it. And just a great movie, perfect little TV movie. Basically takes place in like this creepy town, creepy pilgrims, like some guy haunts a house, he's a magic cloak, blah blah blah.
Listen, if they haven't seen Mr. Boogedy 1
yeah.
and are listening to the Bride of Boogedy
You're missing
episode,
out.
I don't know what
I
to
don't
tell
know
you.
what to So obviously that movie, did pretty well. And if you want to have a fun time, go through. Okay, so first of all, I couldn't find this on
Oh
IMDb.
my God, I was going to have this
because-
same discussion.
Because it's within
Yes.
the magical world of Disney
Yes.
IMDb. So you got to do like a little sleuthing. And go through those and
my
tick
God.
through those if you want to. Because that was like a blast
That's
from the
what I
past
did
for
last
me.
night.
Just like, oh my God, so fun. So they played, and we've already covered so many of those movies.
Right.
And I wasn't even aware that those aired at, and sometimes if they were longer, like Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
I forget what other one I saw.
No
They would
mobile.
do a part 1 and part 2. Yeah, so they'd have it like 2 Sundays or whatever. But it was just such a great time for us, and we remember this really fondly when we talked about the first one, I think. These Sunday night movies, Disney Channel, wholesome TV movies, but always like had the Disney spin on it, so they were just like a slight tick better than the like traditional Disney TV movie, I'd say, on the cable show network, or not cable. And is cable different than network? Wait.
This is,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
what I'm
I
talking
never know.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
Anyway, so Mr. Boogedy was pretty like well received, kooky film, but everybody loved it. So the next year they made this Bride of Boogedy sequel. Now, sadly, did not air during Halloween Magical World of Disney.
What?
It was, if you're looking for it on IMDb, it is season 31, episode 23. And it aired in April of 1987. So, boo.
What?
Boogedy, boogedy, boo. Because it definitely has like, it's not,
Doesn't it-
it doesn't take place in Halloween or anything, but there's a
Oh,
lot
I
of
thought
like,
it did
you
because that
know.
was the whole point of the
No.
festival. Why are they always wearing
I don't think-
pilgrim costumes?
I don't think the
Confusing.
festival
And why was that
like,
lady?
ties into
But they were wearing
Halloween.
costumes. Like the daughter was a Glinda
Yeah.
Good Witch, whatever. And
I
so-
know. Why were they wearing costumes? Good point. I don't know, but anyways, I seen this movie before. I like twinklings of it like came back to me as a like scenes and stuff, but I couldn't tell you
don't think
what
I
the
did.
plot was,
Yeah.
and probably because it's a huge hot mess, so nobody could tell
still
you what the
can't
plot
tell you
was,
what
even if
it
it was
is.
their favorite movie. It is kind of a nightmare, but still has some like cute, obviously carryovers from the first one. Most of the cast comes back. We'll talk about it, and still has like just it's a little bit long, and they just definitely a sequel to make a sequel. But I don't know. I had fun today. I watched it this morning while I was eating my breakfast.
I had a hard time keeping up. I had to rewind it several times because I would realize that I would just like drift off, and then there'd be like something weird. I'd be like, how did we get here? And then I'd have to like go back. Also, so this movie is an hour and a half long, which is a normal amount of time for a movie. That's like the perfect movie length, as we always say. However,
Wait, hold on. Pause. For Magical World of Disney, were those more like an hour time slot? An hour time slot? Like,
oh, maybe.
would that have been long for Magical World of Disney? No, maybe not. It was
I mean,
probably
they probably edited. I'm
like
sure maybe they edited it down
Yeah.
because that's what a lot of these were. They were just like TV edits. Like it's not like there's a couple Disney
Right.
movies on there, and it's not like it premiered.
What's the disclaimer you always see with those? This has been modified to run in the time allotted or something like that. You know, you would see those messages.
Not in a while, haven't we seen that?
Or this has been formatted to fit your screen.
Well, it's a little different, but is that about time? So this
Nerd.
movie, hour and a half. The original Mr. Boogedy, I looked it up, is only 45 minutes. So
Whoa!
So no wonder
Too much boogedy.
this movie fucking felt like the Titanic because I was like, yo, is this over? Is this VHS? And then you're like, no, this is just VHS 1. And then there's like, what? There's a second one? And so I thought it was over when he got possessed and they freed him. But no, there's like a whole 45 minutes after that. So way too long. They could have cut so much stuff out. I could tell you everything they could cut out. But yeah, I just have a lot of questions. So I think parts of it were interesting, and there was one part that I thought was really spooky, which we'll talk about. But yeah, overall, I didn't love it. A lot of gaslighting. It seemed like mostly gaslighting. Like these parents are just constantly gaslighting these kids of like, oh yeah, I'm sure Mr. Boogedy's coming to get us. Ooh, and it's like, yo, you were there. Like he's not
their whole shtick is gags anyway, so it's like they're always just kidding.
Right.
Okay, so who does this star? So like I said, a lot of people came back from the first one, which is you always like to see with sequels. So our star being Richard Mazer, love him. He's such a kook. I love him. I had so many like laugh out loud moments of some of his acting choices, and obviously he. The whole thing is he owns this gag store, or it's like a franchise, and he's making the franchise in this Lucifer Falls town. So there's so many like gags, and he's always doing like kooky things to the kids and trying to trick them, and I just got like a big kick out of that. The mom returns, actress Mimi Kennedy as
Mary.
Eloise?
No, not Marion. Eloise, yeah. Eloise is her name.
Okay, so only one of the original kids came back. That was David Faustino. And if you remember, Christy Swanson, Buffy the Vampire Slayer style, was the older sister. She had prior commitments. So Tammy Larner? My handwriting is terrible. I can't read it. Takes the place of the sister, Jennifer. The whole family has kind of cool names, and then there's just like Jennifer.
Yeah.
Did you notice
Wait,
that?
what's the
up
older
with
brother's
that?
name?
Corwin
and Ari, right?
Ari. Right. So then the little brother named Ari was played by the little kid who would eventually star in the sitcom Alf. So he was doing Alf, so could not do this movie.
Good for him.
So they got the little boy Joshua Rujoy, who is cute as a button anyway. And if
Not as
I don't
cute
know
as
if
that
you
other kid.
recognized him. No, not as cute, but I don't know if you recognize him. But he was the little boy in Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh yeah, that's what they said, but I honestly couldn't.
No.
Like I can't place
Also-
faces in that movie other than
confusion. So in the first one, I assumed the little boy's name was Ari, like A-R-I, right?
Yeah.
And in the credits for this one, he is labeled as initials R-E, and his name is Reginald Ernest.
Okay.
Yes.
No, there's no way no one has
Weird.
ever mentioned or said
I think
that.
someone just like typed that
Yeah,
in. It was. It
as we've
just seems
said
like
many
really
times.
weird.
I mean, the subtitle said AURIE, which I was like, oh, that's weird.
Okay.
But that's just like a person listening and typing like what
Yeah.
they think it is. So like obviously they've never heard the name R.
Yeah.
And they obviously they didn't know it was RE for original. So yeah, dubious.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the family, cute as a button. I will say, the family is so cute in this that the teenage / high school sister is like only hangs out with her little brothers who are like legitimately 7 and 5 is adorable to me. And also the relationship with the little brothers is so cute. They're just like
Little
so
buds.
sweet to each other, and like their little matching like robes and their little like Gag City jackets. And I just like wanted to hug them. They were so cute. Also in this, the wonderful Eugene Levy as the sort of like enemy number 2. So you have Mr. Boogedy as like kind of like the main villain, but then you have this like local villain as Eugene Levy. Always a treat to see him. And then you have awesome character actor Vincent Schiavelli. I know him, top of my head as the guy in Ghost who teaches Patrick Swayze how to like move
angry
the
ghost.
money in the subway. Angry Ghost, yeah. But he's this fabulous character actor. He looks he's very interesting looking fella, so they always put him in kind of interesting roles. And he is the grave digger Lazarus, which second movie in a row with a grave digger buddy.
Right. It's funny because I like from when we started watching Double Toil and Trouble, I thought this guy was the gravedigger, and then when the guy from Rescuers Down Under came on, I was like, oh right. So makes sense. This guy might be in something Wicked This Way Comes or like some other movie where he's like.
I just read that book.
Oh yeah, where like we tried to watch that, but it's not streaming, so we couldn't. But yeah, good times. And then that blonde woman in the town, Mrs. Hooter. I don't know what her name is, but that actress was Danny Tanner's first mom on Full House. So
No
she was his mom
way.
for like a
Awesome.
couple episodes before they brought in like that other woman that was Ray Romano's mom or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, that's how.
Yeah, this movie. Okay, so Chrissy Swanson didn't come back. That little brother didn't come back, and then John Astin was sort of like the creepy
Historical Society.
historical society. Yeah, who ran the historical society. So he didn't come back. So they had to have someone else fill in. I didn't write down that guy's name, but he was a terrible actor.
He died like the next
and
year.
he died. That was his. That was his
he's
last
supposed to
movie.
be-
So R.I.P. But
Yeah, he's supposed to be John Astin's brother.
Brother,
So
okay,
not
yeah.
the same character, but just like similar.
yeah, he was just those line deliveries were just really bugging me. And then there's a fortune telling character who provides like the sort of link to the spirit world. They kind of needed that because they're like needing to talk to ghosts and stuff. And I didn't write her name down, but she was pretty important and she was cool. And
She looks
drove
kinda
a
familiar,
motorcycle.
yeah.
And yeah, I didn't see anything in her credits that was like a lot of TV, like a lot of 90s TV and stuff. So you probably saw her somewhere. Okay, yeah. So that's who's in this film. Okay. So let's get into it. Like we said, plot's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, I might have a hard time with
but
this.
We'll do our best. And we'll just see where the magical cloak falls.
Great.
It's time for the sweetie synopsis.
Sweeties.
Boogedy boogedy boo. Side note, we watched the first one with Sweetie Jr. like a month ago, and she like loved saying boogedy boogedy boo, and that's what she calls this movie, to the point that like we thought she wanted to watch it again, but she was like legitimately scared of it. So when she said, I want to watch boogedy boogedy, and Sweetie was like, okay, like let's put it on, and then she's like, I don't want to watch this. Like, no.
So the thing that kept upsetting her is that if you click on Mr. Boogedy on Disney Plus, you know how there's like that that screen before it plays where there's like a scene of the movie in the back of the screen or whatever. So that picture on the first one is the youngest one wearing those creepy glasses that are like it's so every time I go on it I laugh because Ronnie would always be like no, like I don't like that. And she get like so grossed out.
Everybody, a reminder, she is 2 years old, so it's like severely not appropriate for her, but we had her watch it anyway.
She's very brave.
She had fun. She's very brave. She had fun for a while, but you could tell some things were quite unsettling to her.
She was like holding her toys over her face. Oh, little buddy. Probably give her nightmares for life. Whatever, it's fine.
Hey, she's been sleeping good. It's fine.
The Davis family is still in Lucifer Falls. So apparently it's been like a year since the events of the first one. Now, this movie does a very interesting storytelling tactic where they're, I guess, assuming that most people did not watch the first one, even though, as we were saying, it was pretty popular. So they have this whole scene in the beginning where this like Cub Scout leader is like telling a spooky story around a campfire, and the story is the Davis family and how they encountered Mr. Boogedy and like sucked him up in the vacuum. And I'm like, why does this guy know all these things? Like, were they like telling everyone? Like, I'm so confused. And they never
Was it in the newspaper?
Right. They never like mention that scene again. Like, you're never like, I wonder how the Boy Scout, you know, and it's just like a weird, it was just a plot device. But anyways, so it's been about a year. Apparently they're like, you know, great, exciting people in town. The dad has been named honorary mayor. I don't know why they don't have a real mayor in Lucifer Falls, but yeah, in the first one we didn't really get a huge sense of like the wider town, and in that it was really kind of just constricted to the Davis family house, and then they went to that historical society office like once, right? But you never saw like the rest of the town. So turns out all the people in this town are like fucking weirdos, and they wear those fucking creepy ass pilgrim hats and cloaks for fun. Like, it's a fashion, like it's very bizarre. And they never mention it again. They don't explain this. I thought it took place during Halloween and that's why they were wearing those, but apparently I'm wrong. So I don't know. Very strange. The only thing I can think is that they're just the lore, the town lore of this like pilgrim town, and Mr. Boogedy, who whatever his real name is, like was just like that's this town is all about. So they're just like stuck.
Yeah, that's their bread and butter. I mean, I think it's supposed to be like a sort of like a Salem, right? Like a Salem, Massachusetts, where
that's very
the witch trials
stereotypical
happen there.
To think that people in Salem walk around in witch hats all day. Like.
Right, exactly. But if you're making a movie like for the whole country, maybe that is what they think. And Hollywood has sort of portrayed Salem in some ways like that, in the sense that they're very like ingrained into the spookiness, even though we all know that the Salem witch trial was based on some bad mold that some people ate, and then they all went freaking crazy.
It's not 100% proven. I mean, it's definitely proven that like they did not see real witches, but it's still debatable whether they just made it up or if they were actually affected by something.
I'm telling you, toxic mold.
So I know you're on Team Toxic Mold. I know. So okay, so the Davis family in Lucifer Falls. So they've like tidied up the house. They seem to have gotten rid of the spider webs, the dustiness. Great, good for them. The kitchen looked totally remodeled and modern. Yeah. To the point where I was like, where are they right now? And I was like, oh, still in the creepy house. Cool. But yeah, they're living their lives. Mr. Booged's gone. The dad's starting up his joke store. He found a place that they can open the store finally. The mom's brother, Uncle Elmer comes over in the beginning, and they play like a big. Oh,
that's the brother? I thought he was just like another
he called her. Sis.
He was in the business. He's in like the Gag City.
He is,
business.
but he's also her brother, I think.
Okay.
Because that's why he was so upset about her being taken away as Mr. Boogedy's bride.
And why he came back. Because when he comes back, I'm like, why is this dude around again?
So they play this like elaborate prank on him, and he loves it. They're like always like doing gags back and forth is kind of like the shtick. And he wants the dad to go back to like where they used to live or whatever, and become the regional manager of Gag City or something. And the dad's like, oh. And if Jennifer was here for this discussion, obviously she would be like, yes, let's move back. But everybody else is like, no, Dad, come on, because they like it. And so he decides he wants to stay. He got named honorary mayor. He has the Lucy Fest is coming up. He has his obligations to fulfill. So
yeah, and I think in general the family does really like the town. Obviously, after Mr. Boogedy left, like nothing else has happened, and they really do like it.
So Lucy Fest. So Lucy Fest is this like exciting fest. I thought it was a Halloween fest. We're not sure now. Cute name because it's like Lucifer Falls, Lucy Fest. And so the curmudgeon in town who owns the general store.
Wait, hold on. Before that, you missed that Jennifer was walking home, and some guy in a pilgrim outfit was like, Jennifer, like I'm gonna get you.
It was Mr. Boogedy.
Like all creepy. Yeah, but that was like your first taste that he's
Right.
like maybe back.
He's back, and he's just like out, like wandering around outside. I was like, is that how ghosts work, or like evil demonic pilgrim ghost spirits, like who made a deal with the devil? Like I don't know. So
I guess he lived in the statue. We'll get to it.
But she wasn't near the graveyard. She was outside the house.
What?
Okay, it's
Maybe she was.
it's very confusing again. So she's freaked out. She goes in, she runs, tells her family. They don't believe her. Again, this is where we get like this gaslighting. They're like making fun of her, like, sure you saw him, like Boogeyman doesn't Mr. Boogedy doesn't exist anymore. And it's like, how can you be? So I went back and rewatched the end of the first one because I was like, why are they so convinced he's gone? And two things. One, he just like poofed into like green glitter. Not even glitter. It was like spectral waves or something. I don't know enough about the metaphysical world to tell you like, yeah, he's definitely gone. Like, you don't fucking know. Right. B,
how do you kill a ghost?
You can't. Did you exorcise him? No. Like, you can't just like get rid of him. So B, at the very end, remember there's like evil laughter from the clown thing in the shop vac, and it's like, and then he winks, and they witness that. So it's like, obviously he's not gone, and like, don't treat your daughter like a crazy person because she thinks she may. And plus, they went through a very traumatic thing, so like, I don't know, be a little more respectful and kind. So, anyways, they don't believe her, so they go about with their business. Now we're planning for Lucy Fest. They can't have it where they usually have it in like some field because the town curmudgeon, Mr. What the fuck was his name? Fry? No. Mr. Do you remember what that guy's name? Eugene Levy's character's name is?
No.
Well, I don't know. I have
no help.
I have Fry in the top of my head, but if that's not right, then Mr. Lynch. Okay. So Mr. Lynch is like owns the general store, also wants to be like an amateur gag seller on the side or something. So he takes personal offense that the dad the family has moved here. They've opened a joke store that everybody loves. They don't buy his gags. He's like very personally offended by this. So he decides they can't use the field for Lucy Fest or he'll charge them money or something. And they're like, oh, well, I can't not have Lucy Fest. And then the dad's like, well, why don't you just have it in the town square? And everybody's like, great, yeah, good idea. So he like saves the day. So meanwhile, they go to look at like where he's going to open his new Gag City store in Lucifer Falls. And it's in this like old creepy wax museum. And they're like, yay, this is perfect. Like, we can, like, dress these guys up and make them part of the store and, like, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, it was just, like, a creepy place. Like, obviously, place is probably modeled after the actual Salem because there's a very famous Salem wax museum that I still have nightmares about. And I just find wax figures to be so eerie and, like, mannequins and wax figures. There's just like I can smell them and like they just like, not like they don't smell bad, but like they're just like plasticky. I don't know. It just like upsets me.
Well, I wrote down what's the point of a wax museum because I feel like they've really like seen their day. You still see those.
Yeah.
And there's obviously the famous one, and like there's this one in downtown Boston that I never saw anybody go into, and I'm like, who is going to wax museums now? Is that fun to look at wax figurines of like celebrities and stuff? Who cares?
I think that part of it was like the before technology got interesting and people could make like robots and animatronics that it was interesting, but they're definitely like phased out now.
And in this movie, because eventually there's a part of this where the wax figures come to life, like they weren't wax figures. Yes. I think they're always actors because you can see them slightly move.
And that was very clear from the get-go that you're like, this is a person. They're going to come to life at the end. They wanted to save money. So, I mean, I do think like the allure of a wax museum, like something like Madame Tussauds, the lure there is that they look so realistic that you take pictures with them and it's like they're real, right? But like these old wax museums were just like terrible quality and like
and just for like a museum
purpose, to like illustrate different concepts. And then they would have like a voiceover, like the Salem one, they like light up one at a time and then they play this like old ass tape of like, oh no, I'm a witch, like weird like shit, and it's like so bad. But anyways, so they're all smitten with this place. They're like, great, yay, hooray. Next night, the boys like hear like like evil Mr. Boogedy laughter, and then they're both like transported to this graveyard, and they're like, how did we get here, what's going on? And I'm like, I'd have no idea, like this is weird. This is like some next level Mr. Boogedy shit. And so then they get like woken up or whatever after like something scary happens. You see Mr. Boogedy with like scary eyes, and it was pretty spooky. And they start freaking out, and they're like, Mr. Boogedy's back, he's back. And again, the dad and the mom are like, you kids are silly, you were just dreaming. And the daughter's like, when's the last time somebody had the exact same dream as somebody else at the same time? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So she's onto it, and she's like, this is something. So, which, by the way, that scene, question for you. Would you ever sleep, like go to bed with your hair in very high pigtails? Yes or no?
I thought that exact same thing.
Because
I was like, ouch.
Jennifer like comes out of her room, and she has like Pippy Longstocking style pigtails that are like so high up here on your head. Because there's different ways you can put pigtails. You can make like lower. Sure, sleep in those. But anything that's like actually pulling your hair when you're sleeping.
Well,
what?
And obviously you have to be a back sleeper because it would only
Which
be
no one
comfortable
is.
where it's flat on your head here. But if you turned over to the side, you'd be like stabbed by a pigtail. So no thanks.
And it would hurt. Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyways, like through this weird encounter, they find this like there's like a weird portal in the basement, and like it's very confusing. So Jennifer and the boys go to the cemetery the next day to like figure things out. And they're like, is this where you were? And they were like, yeah, it just looked different. I was like, yeah, because you were in like a weird like parallel dimension graveyard with like weird things. And so Lazarus, the gravedigger, comes and is like, come look at the grave. And he's like, this is the old pilgrim that like founded this town or whatever, William Hanover. And they're like, that's Mr. Boogedy. So I guess I didn't realize that they were living at Mr. Boogedy's house. I guess that's obvious, because why would he be like haunting it? But like,
well, right. So remember, I just thought of this. The first one was all based on he was in the house, and they did kick him out of the house because remember, Jonathan was stuck in there with him. So the big thing was they got released.
Right.
So he got to reunite with his mom, and then they went to heaven or whatever. But it didn't mean that he like wasn't around anymore because he really got booted into this statue, which is in the cemetery.
And then he's like stuck in between the spirit world or whatever, as the psychic says. So the psychic, this gypsy, who they call unfortunately a gypsy lady, but like that's not PC now. But this fortune teller woman is like kind of a hack, but kind of not, because she tells them in the beginning, like, you have to be careful because Mr. Boogedy's like coming back, and she tells them, she seems to know that like something dark is going on. So now they come up with this brilliant idea. For some reason, they like can't go to the Lucy Fest because they have to like the store's grand opening is that day. I was like, then make the grand opening another day. Like, don't you own the store? Why are you held down to the? It's like everyone's going to be at the fest. So is it that important that Gag City opens on that? I don't know. That didn't make any sense. But the mom comes up with a genius idea to have their carnival booth located inside the gag store, which is in the wax museum. So they come up with this funny seance gag, and it's quite clever. And I did like this part because I thought it was really funny. The mom is pretending to be the fortune teller, and then the dad's hiding, kind of like a Wizard of Oz thing, where he's like behind the curtain doing all this manipulation and silly things. So he's like making noises, and they have one of those little toy phones that was in Poltergeist too. And the mom can like move it under the table with like a magnet or like a rod or something. It was like,
oh yeah,
it was an awkward setup,
how they
but
figured that out.
The dad would be like on the microphone, like, who do you want to speak to in the afterlife? And then the phone would like roll to whoever like was gonna pick up the phone, and like, oh, I want to talk to Elvis. And then you like pick up the phone and be like, hey, pretty lady, I heard you want to talk to me. Like, so that's like the seance gag, and it's like pretty funny and like obviously not real. La, 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 la. So the kids, bust in there. They try to get them to like understand that Mr. Boogedy's back. They have all this evidence now or whatever. And so the Mr. Lynch guy is like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this family. I know they're up to no good. So he like sneaks in, cuts like the electricity of the building or something, which causes the dad's like microphone and all this shit that he's doing to like short circuit out, and he gets fried. And then the electricity is like so powerful that it like, and this, I have no idea what happened here. It like flew out of the store and then like hit the Mr. Boogedy statue and like broke it, and then his spirit was like released or something, and he can't. And then unfortunately his spirit possesses the dad now.
Yeah. This part was very loosey-goosey. When I watched it, I was like, wait a minute. Did the Eugene Levy character put the spirit into like the electricity thing, and that's how it got
the wires?
Into the
and
dad?
then, like, it doesn't make
I was
any
like,
sense.
why is he involved here? Like, what's going on? Yeah. But
Why?
bottom line is, we got some demonic possession going on.
Yeah, so the dad's possessed. So for some reason, and like I love Richard Mazur, and I think he's hilarious, and I think this part like was super funny. But for some reason, when he's possessed as Mr. Boogedy, he's talking in this like weird high pitched nerd voice, and it was like very Mr. Not Boogedy, like, and it was just an odd choice. He'd be like, "Hey guys, it's me." And you're like, okay, that's not how Mr. Boogedy talks. Strange.
No.
So he's doing a bunch of weird shit. So this is the scene that I thought was like so creepy. The daughter's like sleeping, and then she hears this like weird clacking sound. What was that sound that was like making the clacks? It was like click, click, click. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the dad's just like floating by, like he's still sleeping, but like awake. And he's like looking at her and like, hey, hi. And like saying all this like weird, creepy shit. And she's like, Daddy? And like, it's just like, ugh. And she like runs to the mom. And she's like, Daddy's acting weird. And he's like, oh, go back to bed. Because he's always acting weird because he's a jokester. So again,
and the mom has a sleeping mask on, so she can't see that he looks kind of weird. She can only hear his voice, and she asks him, and he's like, "I'm fine."
Yeah. So now he's like full on possessed. He steals the old pilgrim costume that was in the historical society, which you find out was Marion the Widow's actual outfit, which is like really weird.
That thing would have been threadbare and disintegrated. It was like in beautiful
nice
condition.
Try. So he steals that and he like
old.
presents it to his wife as like, look, I got you an outfit for the carnival or whatever. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. But his motive is finding a wife. So like, I don't know what Mr. Boogedy's like libido is or like what his problem is, but like, why is he so obsessed with finding a wife? Like, you're fucking dead, man. Get over it. Go like do something by yourself. Like, he's just like so hung up on this. It's very bizarre.
Lonely old coot.
Very strange. So she starts finally realizing that something, is wrong with the dad because he's calling her Marion and being like very aggressive and scary, and is floats up to the ceiling or whatever. And it's like, they're like, okay, something's wrong. So they call the fortune teller lady and the historical society guy. And they're like, we need to help him. And they try to like help him, but they like can't figure it out. And then that's the other thing. They always called him Uncle Elmer.
You're right. Okay.
And so he comes back in this like giant gorilla suit because he wants to try to scare them. So that's like his plan. So he comes in the house and like tries to scare the dad and like is doing like all these like kooky things. And the dad is like coming out of his possession to like laugh at Elmer, and Mr. Boogedy's like, what? No, I don't mean that. And then the dad's like, just kidding.
But he's
just
terrifying
kidding.
the family as Mr. Boogedy, like at this time,
yes,
right?
but then he keeps like laughing and laughing. And laughter, turns out, breaks him from his possession spell. And he's able to come back. And they're like, woo, finally. And then this is the part where I was like, okay, movie's over. Because like it was really like I swear they were like playing the like, this movie's about to end music. And I was like, oh, wow, great. But then you cut to Mr. Lynch being like, oh, so that's how he's doing what he's doing with this magical cloak. Oh, that's the other thing. He found the cloak, right? As the possessed Mr. Boogedy. The cloak is like in a weird portal in the basement. And so he like finds
that's
it.
when he could start doing really bad
So then he
things,
could start
'cause he
doing
had the
really
magic
like
cloak.
bad things. So
The devil cloak.
The devil cloak. So Lynch sees that. And he's like, I'm going to take that cloak. So he steals the cloak. So now he has it. And the whole thing, the fortune teller told them, I think, that like you can't let him get the cloak because then he'll be able to return. Or something.
Yeah.
So now Lynch has the cloak. He goes to he's possessed, goes to the graveyard, or like makes the mannequins. Now this is when the wax figures come to life. I think.
Yeah, he
Yes.
like comes. They're all at so they have the Lucy Fest, and it's actually like a pretty cool festival. There's like a Ferris wheel. There's some carnival
Ferris
rides. Yeah, there's a popcorn machine for free. It looks like the weird guy who owns the historical society makes this like disgusting. Okay. With hindsight, there has been savory ice cream now. You can probably find a spinach ice cream. You can find an onion ice cream. But at this point, everyone's like, ew, onion chocolate ice cream? Disgusting.
It was like...
So he's like cookie and making all that stuff.
It was like spinach and bacon. And I was like, that's not like a terrible... And I didn't realize it was supposed to be ice cream. I thought it was just like food. And so I was like, God, of course in the 90s we hated spinach, even if it had like...
Oh, I know. I just thought that too. I was like, wow, that was definitely like... Popeye the Sailor Man era when people were like, "Oh, spinach."
Yeah.
But kind of like broccoli and like Brussels sprouts. Now we've really like turned a corner on all those amazing.
Mostly because of
those foods.
Mostly because of bacon.
I know.
Bacon is those vegetables' friends.
So it's a great fast and it's so fun. And they end up going to the Uncle Elmer's there too, and they end up going to the because their little booth is in like the seance thing, and so the whole family is like gathered there. Everyone's dressed up. And Eugene Levy comes and says, like, oh, like, you guys, like, I have your cloak now. He's all dressed up in the Boogedy cloak. He's not possessed yet. And I forget why, but he ends up, Mr. Boogedy ends up finding them there and then, possessing Eugene Levy and basically, like, Eugene Levy suddenly has all these powers and then is like freezes the family in place, makes all the wax figures come to life. So you have like Wolfman, Dracula, like all these wax figures like coming and wrecking the Lucy Fest. Right. And in that chaos, Eugene Levy is possessed and Mr. Boogedy orders him to go to the graveyard and give him the cloak. Oh, right. So actually like put the cloak on the statue. So then Mr. Boogedy will have the statue. Because I guess before...
The cloak. He'll have
like he had the cloak, but it was through Carlton, like the dad. It wasn't like him actually.
Because he's in the statue.
So it didn't work.
He had to give it. Yeah, I don't know. It still seems like pretty loosey goosey. So then the Eugene Levy character is like waking out of his spell. The kids had like chased him there because they were somehow concerned about him, even though they hated him. And they like save him because he's now like out of his stupor. But Mr. Boogedy is now out in a boot, as they say, and is just causing havoc. So he's just like really fucking with things in the carnival. And his main prize again is the mom who's dressed in Marion's dress. So he's like, my love, like come to me, like sucks her like up to like his vortex or whatever, like levitates her and then like takes her away into the green space, whatever. This like
the underworld.
Well, no, because the underworld is what they banish him to. So I think he's taking her back to like he's just taking her like in between. So they're like, Mom, no! And they're like so upset. So they're like, we need someone to help us. So the fortune teller lady's like, we need like someone in the afterlife to like tell us what to do. And they're like, we don't know anyone. Wait a minute. We can call my old ghost buddy Jonathan. So they call Jonathan, who was the little boy from the first one. And he's
a shiny prince now.
He's a shiny prince now.
Shiny,
it's not the same
towhead prince.
It's not the same actor for sure. He's doing this weird thing, and I definitely had a question about this, where he's like, I have to ask somebody, and then he like would go away and then like ask them, and he'd be like, okay, here's what he told me, and you're like, who? He's like, you have to find the key and then take it to the graveyard.
It was God, right? He was asking God.
Oh, I thought it was the devil. I was like, why would? Because he's like, he told me not to tell you. And like, what? Yeah. It was so weird. Tells him
he's in heaven. His pilgrim shoes now have like sequined buckles. He's definitely in heaven.
Love it. Yeah, so they have to get this old key that they had found in the basement before, take it to the graveyard, and then open up the door to the underworld, which will like suck in Mr. Boogedy. But you got to be careful because whoever he's holding on to is going to get sucked in there with him. So you have to be careful. And so they come up with this wackadoo plan where they're like, oh, let's use Jennifer as bait.
And were you surprised about this? Yes. Because I don't. They just are like, hey, we have a plan, and they all march to the cemetery. So they're going to try to get the mom back. And in my mind, I'm watching them, and Jennifer has this gigantic coat on. It was like one of those sleeping bag coats, which are really popular now, like a puffer
I thought
coat
it was like a big
goes all the way down to your ankles.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a coat. And so I'm like, oh, that's funny. Like, why does she have that coat on? And like everyone else has like a light fall coat. And then you come to find out they somehow have a second Marian Pilgrim costume, and they're going to do like a bait and switch, sort of like try to do that, but save Jennifer at the same time while saving the mom.
But
so
I don't
very
know
stressful.
it's very risky. And like, because they just found out this rule about him holding on to whoever gets banished to the, you're going to take that chance? Like, make the fortune teller do it. It was so weird. So yeah, so somehow it works and they get her out, but then he starts like pulling Jennifer back in with him, and I forget how they get her out of that.
They all kind of the end theme of the movie is like, because they like turn or try to turn Eugene Levy, being like, we'll be your friend, like, why are you so mean, like, you don't have to be like this, like, this is a great town and we all are like really,
because he was on track to be
like,
basically another Mr. Boogedy of like this mean
so
person.
they all use teamwork at the end, because first it's just Carlton the dad like pulling and the mom, and then the whole like group of them join in, basically like symbolizing kind of like the whole town, and like pull her to safety. So that was kind of like the big theme at the end, like, yay, neighbors.
So they get her, and then he's sucked into the underworld and he's banished or whatever. Yay, they did it. Hooray, hooray, hooray. And then
did you know the ending was so weird, because the ending, the last line is, Jennifer forgot her coat, and the little boys go and pick up the coat and then leave, and then the credits roll. I'm like, why was that included?
It's really
like,
stuck on this coat. It's so strange.
Who cares about the coat? I'm not stuck on it. The movie is stuck on it.
And she's like super upset and is like, and the mom's like, it's over now. And it's like, okay, but that was very traumatic. Like,
yeah. I will say that actress, she's in like a lot of stuff, and she had a ton of credits, but I feel like her acting chops were like too good for this movie, because she was like, and I mean, she had like the more serious role out of anybody, but like
Eugene Levy was, I mean, like a lot of people were too good for this movie. I'm just like very confused. The first one must have really done pretty well to like get those folks to like be in this, but it didn't make any sense. But I guess he's gone for good, so yeah. But yeah, he's much more gruesome, and not gruesome, but like you see him more. I think like his makeup is a little bit better. I don't think he's wearing that awful wig in this, from what I recall, because when I went back and watched the end of the first one, that's the part where the cloak comes off and he has this like horrible. He's basically wearing the wig that Mary-Kate and Ashley were wearing in the olden days. Like, it's the same wig. Just repurposed.
I mean, they had like a very Ghostbusters moment where his statue like is crumbling and he's like inside of it, and you see his like gross like black fingers like coming out of the statue. I was like, oh god. Like, in general, I think the Mr. Boogedy stuff was still very scary, and his like, face is scary and gross, and all the lights and like that creepy music. In general, that still like really works well for me, and I'm glad you got to see like a little more of him. But so that's the flick. So so there's a lot of gags in this movie. Love that they keep the gags going in this one. The parents always like tricking the kids or trying to like trick the kids. They had like this at one point the dad pulls out like a mask out of the fridge.
And it like squirts water out of the eyes.
And it squirts water at the kid in the face. And then my favorite one was that the dad was wearing goggles while eating grapefruit, and it was like really like crazy juicy grapefruit that was just like squirting at his goggles. And then he pulls out this like little tiny,
I knew you would love that. I was like, Sweetie's gonna love
what is
this.
That thing called?
A windshield wiper?
Yeah, like the squeegee. There's like a little squeegee like attached to the goggles, and he just like squeegees the goggles with the juice on it. Oh my god, I cracked up. In general, like I just like love that actor. What are your, not just in this movie, but what are your favorite gag gifts? What do you like to see when you go to a gag store? What are you like really drawn to?
I don't like gags. I find them like very mean-spirited for the most part, and like scary. So like obviously there's the classic like hand buzzer one, which like always freaked me out, because I was like, what does that feel like? I don't want to be shocked, and I don't want to know what it feels like, and I don't want to be shocked. And like, why would you want to shock someone? I don't know. It just seemed really mean. So I'm just gonna tell you the ones that I hate, which is all of them. There's that one. There's the classic like, look through this telescope, and then you hold up to your eye, and you get the ink circle around, which was a very funny scene in this one, because the other guy like doesn't know that that's what it is, and he just keeps doing it, and then he has like both eyes with the ink. There's the like fake stuff, so like fake poop, fake barf, fake whatever, which this family loved in the first one, but we don't see too much of it in the sequel. And then the classic snakes jump out of the can. Basically, the thing that Marshall gave the girl with the heart condition in the Erie, Indiana episode, which we didn't get to share with people because I deleted it. But I just remembered that right now. I was like, damn it. But yeah, the snakes pop out of the can. The trick gum in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Maybe that one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Not that I would want anyone to go through that. I just think it's very effective in terms of like, wow, that's really mean, and I would hate for that to happen to me. So yeah, probably the trick gum.
I went to P-Town, Provincetown kind of recently, and there's like was a joke shop, like not a joke shop, but like a gag gift, like part of this shop I went into. So we were looking at like a ton of them. And yeah, the Barf Now one is so bad. Like it doesn't look like Barf at all. And I'm like, you guys need to retool this design because it's really.
Why is that
here.
a print? Like you want to print? It's just like as someone obviously who takes
it's not
offense
good.
at
They had,
vomit. Like I just find that
I know.
gross.
They had flies in an ice cube. They had make soapy beer or something. You'd like put like something in a glass and it looked like beer, but it was soap or something. I don't know. Mine is, I mean, you can't go wrong with a classic whoopee cushion, though.
Yeah,
you really can't, like, fool people
that one's
too
okay.
much with
that
those
one is
now.
Funny,
yeah. Pretty funny. And then for me, classic dog poop I love. I have definitely been, like, fell for that because it's pretty good looking.
It?
And if you stick that somewhere and, like, you just watch and see people, like, jump over it or, like, try to avoid it, it's pretty freaking funny, man. It's really good.
Should we talk about the fart in the bag that we bought in New Hampshire?
Oh yeah. What up? What was up with that?
What was it
what
called
were they
again?
Stink
bomb.
bombs.
We bought the stink bomb, and you like, I forget what ignited it, and then you like set it down and you wait for it to like explode, and it's supposed to smell like a fart or like a stink bomb. It doesn't say farts. It was like smells like stink. I don't know. Like whenever someone talks about a stink bomb, I'm always like, what is the stink though? Because there's like many different things that smell, right? As evidenced by Sweetie Junior's favorite movie, Monsters Inc., when they're like, do you have odorant, which is the opposite of deodorant? It smells bad. So they're like wet dog. I forget all the other like gross, gym socks. There's so many different kinds of smells. So I'm always curious, what is a stink bomb smell like? So we wanted to find out.
Like a sulfury kind of.
That's the classic.
Like
The classic
like
egg
eggs.
smell.
Rotten eggs, I guess,
Can
right?
never go wrong there.
Yeah.
So we're all like standing out there, like waiting for this like fart, the stink bomb to explode. It takes like forever, and then it did explode, and it was really scary, and I screamed, but nothing like no smell happened. Like we all like put our faces like up to it, and we're like, was the gag that we thought it was really a stink bomb, and it was just a loud noise?
I know.
That's not nice.
That was
supposed to play a gag on the person buying the gag to gag someone. Like that's like that's rude. Gags.
Yeah. Good stuff though. They're like the one where you just basically like nail down like fake money. That's pretty good too. If you've ever done
Or
that
like
one.
on the fishing pole line. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Totes.
Because people are always going to try to pick up like a like a quarter or something, and then they like, how long are they going to try to pick it up? It's pretty good. Okay, I noticed that the mom and the sister used those puffy hair yarn.
Okay, I wrote that
It's
down
called
too.
Hair yarn. If you Google it.
I thought it was just
my
a piece
God,
of yarn.
Took me back. It's specific like hair yarn. I have a picture of it. I'll put it on Instagram. It really took me back. It was such an 80s thing, 70s and 80s, because some of the pictures are like Cindy Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
So it was just like such a thing to tie your hair with those, and I just got like so nostalgic.
That was funny.
I was like, oh man,
Me too.
the pre-scrunchy.
Yep.
Loved
It
it.
really
loved
does
it.
just look like a piece of yarn though. It's like
It's a piece of yarn. And like, how many times could you use those? Wouldn't it get kind of like funky after a while? I don't think it was like a longevity on those.
well,
was
it's
not
yarn,
great.
so
I'm
you
sure
can
they
always
would
just cut a new piece, I guess.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to know is there was a tons of milk drinking going on in this movie. And like it seemed like they were always at a table full of glasses of milk.
Because that's what we
with,
drank
like,
in the
a lot
90s.
of milk in it. Yes, and then at one point the mom comes through with like orange juice or something. But I think we've brought this up many times. Basically as a kid, I don't remember seeing water like ever. I don't remember drinking water. I don't remember like anything to do with water. You drank milk and juice, and like literally that was it. And it's just like such a change. And I know like the reason why those got milk campaigns happened in like the mid to late 90s was I think like people did kind of drop off with the milk drinking. And I don't know if that was just from it coming around, like it wasn't good for you. Like I forget like the whole reasoning, but like, oh man, that is such an 80s thing.
Yeah.
Like milk.
Give me the milk. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. That's funny. Great. I think I mentioned I snuck all my talking points into the synopsis.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I did think the floating possession scene was the creepiest.
And also along those lines, the one I think it happens like right after that where the dad's floating and he kind of like puffs. He floats.
Yeah.
He like puffs up, and that's how he floats, I guess. And he's in this kind of like jumpsuit, and looks like pretty kooky, and he keeps going boogedy boogedy boo, and then he goes haha just kidding. Which is like what the tagline is for the dad, and he just kept going between those two while floating and doing this weird.
Why did he puff up?
Really creepy.
Why did he get so fat? That was weird. It was like Harry Potter.
Well, that's what made him float, right?
I guess.
Like he was a balloon.
It was just a weird stylistic. Like, why couldn't he just float? Period. Like he's a ghost demon. Choice. Like I don't.
Bride of Boogedy.
I don't know. It was just like really weird movie. It was so long. They could have cut.
It was cute though.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it if you've seen the original and haven't seen this one. Like I'd recommend it just for a watch.
But be aware,
some like
it's an hour and a half long.
It's an hour and a half long, which is like a solid kids movie now, which we now think.
But
it
like,
feels
like 2 hours
it does
long.
feel long.
Like it just felt so long.
Yeah.
God. But yeah, that's the flick. All right. Well, Spooky Month was great. We had a great time.
Woo!
We hope you did as well. You can come find us on Instagram at the Sweetie Club, or
hope everyone has a great
or
Halloween.
also on Instagram.
Sorry, cut you off.
No,
there,
I messed up.
But everyone has a great Halloween. Like we said, it's on Tuesday. I just listened to the one we did, Return to Witch Mountain or Escape from Witch Mountain or something last year, and it was we're talking about Halloween and what we were gonna do, and it was on a Monday, and we had a good time. I'll say last year, even though my daughter was only 1 year old, she had a cold. And we only did a couple houses, but like me and my husband had like the best time. And our costumes were awesome. We were the Simpsons there. So this year, Sweetie's coming over, and she is part of our little family costume group. And my daughter is obsessed with Mickey Mouse right now. So all she wants to do is be Mickey Mouse. So we got her Mickey Mouse costume. I'm Minnie. My husband is Goofy, and Sweetie is a full Donald Duck costume that she's going to save for the rest of her life.
Just always, you never know when you need a duck costume. So,
oh yeah, it's awesome. So we're going to have a blast. I hope you guys too. We'll post some pics. Get all that candy. Unfortunately, last year I said, I'm taking my daughter out, but yeah, I had like kind of given her candy by then, but not really like too much. So I was like, it's kind of the thing where the parents are going to eat all the candy like that the cute little kid gets. Well, let me tell you, 1 year later, we're in a bit of a different story because my daughter literally eats chocolate chips. I have to give my daughter 5 chocolate chips for her to get into the car every day. So we are like fully invested in candy. And I don't think there's going to be any way I'm going to be taking her candy from her, let me tell you. So what a difference a year makes.
Totally. Yikes. Be interesting. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Bye. Happy Halloween.
Bye. Happy Halloween.